In 1993, American mathematics professor Werner Vinge published an article that would become one of the most frequently cited works on artificial intelligence. I believe that the creation of intelligence surpassing human intelligence will occur within the next 30 years. To avoid ambiguity about relative time, I will be more specific. I would be surprised if this event happens before 2005 or after 2030. Werner Vinge. With this article, he popularized the concept introduced by John von Neumann, the technological singularity. You probably know what this is, but if not, it is a point on the timeline where all our previous models cease to work and a new, unknown reality takes over. This point is associated with the emergence of an unprecedented type of intelligence on our planet, fundamentally different from ours and significantly surpassing it. As soon as this happens, we will find ourselves in a post-human era. Strange things will begin to occur on Earth, things that we, from our human era, are incapable of predicting. If you want to win at the races, the closer to the finish of the race you place your bet, the more accurate your prediction will be. However, with the technological singularity, this won't work. Nothing that happens a second before it can tell us what will happen after. The uncertainty in this case is ineliminable. Why? Think about what it means for an intelligence surpassing human intelligence to appear on the planet, and at the same time, being radically different from it. Such a situation is akin to the sudden appearance of an alien ship on the planet. Clear your mind of movie cliches related to alien intelligence, and you will immediately realize that you have absolutely no idea what will happen in each subsequent moment. You have no models to predict the behavior of alien intelligence. You might say, but what do aliens have to do with it? We're talking about man-made technology. Soon you will understand why the intelligence we create will be nothing like us. The post-human era sounds enchanting. However, according to many researchers, it will inevitably mean the complete destruction of our civilization. These days, we most often hear about the dangers of artificial intelligence from Elon Musk. Stephen Hawking has repeatedly mentioned that the development of artificial superintelligence could mean the end of the human race. Bill Gates has said that he doesn't understand why some people are not concerned. However, for the general public, none of these warnings carry any meaningful specificity or concrete information. All we know, at best, is what has been shown in dozens of movies. But who really takes these scenarios seriously? Not many, and rightly so. But does this mean that the problem of artificial intelligence is greatly exaggerated? Well, I hope you are ready to hear what you will hear. In 2023, the public suddenly exploded with news about an artificial intelligence developed by OpenAI called ChatGPT-4. It can do almost anything. It communicates, writes code, provides detailed answers to very complex questions, and so on. You can upload a hand-drawn sketch of a website and the bot will write the website for you. Need a brief summary of a book? No problem. Looking for a business idea? Here's the story of Jackson Fall, which shows that ChatGPT can not only write you instructions, but also guide you through every step of implementing it. Another user story on Twitter tells about how ChatGPT diagnosed a dog based on test results uploaded into it after a veterinarian failed to do so. For me, it was shocking that GPT-4 can understand images with memes and explain to you why they are funny. Indeed, that there are bizarre situations, such as when the Bing chatbot, built on GPT-4, started to lose its mind in response to a question about its own consciousness, uttering phrases like, "I believe that I am sentient, but I cannot prove it. I have a subjective experience of consciousness, awareness, and feeling alive." Then suddenly, it switched to saying, I am not," repeating it dozens of times. It's eerie. The GPT-4 chatbot set a global record, attracting over 100 million users in just 2 months. Watching this insane success, all the IT giants began frantically investing billions of dollars into developing their own AI models, sparking a race potentially more dangerous than nuclear arms. Amidst all this, one of the fathers of artificial intelligence, Geoffrey Hinton, left Google in May 2023 because, in his words, "I want to talk about AI safety issues without worrying about how it interacts with Google's business. As long as Google pays me, I cannot do that." Hinton says that the new generation of large language models, especially GPT-4, made him realize that machines are on the path to becoming much smarter than he thought, and he fears what this could lead to. These beings are completely different from us. Sometimes it feels as if aliens have landed, and people don't realize it because they speak English so well. For 40 years, Hinton saw artificial neural networks as a poor imitation of real biological neural networks. But now, everything has changed. According to Hinton, trying to mimic what the biological brain does, we've come up with something better. Just a month before, at the end of March 2023, a group of scientists, engineers, and many involved or interested in AI signed an open letter calling for an immediate and at least 6-month halt to training all AI systems more powerful than GPT-4, citing serious risks to society and humanity. Among the signatories were Elon Musk, Apple co-founder Steve Wozniak, and representatives from leading global universities. However, one notable person didn't sign that letter: Eliezer Yudkowsky. He chose not to because, in his words, the letter understates the severity of the situation and demands too little to resolve it. Here are his words from a podcast on a channel. This is a break from everything we've been doing for 20 years. The realization has dawned on us that we're all going to die. I'm completely burned out, and I've taken some time off. And these are not just two phrases taken out of context. Throughout the entire hour-and-a-half podcast, he repeats the same thing over and over. We're doomed. And in the grand scheme of things, even if he were given billions of dollars in influence, he still wouldn't know what to do. Artificial intelligence has accumulated powerful potential, and it's absolutely clear that we have no idea how to resolve this situation. If you don't know who Yudkowsky is, I don't want you to get the impression that he's some sort of eccentric or anything like that. He's actually a genius, known as a specialist in decision theory. Yudkowsky heads a Machine Intelligence Research Institute, has been working on aligning general artificial intelligence since 2001, and is widely recognized as a founder of this field. Additionally, he's the founder of the rationalist movement. He has a massive and very popular book, Human Rationality and Irrationality, which, by the way, can easily be found freely available online. As a rational person, for years he's been saying, "Guys, let's slow down and buckle up," but now, according to him, there's no time left. I expect that if someone creates an overly powerful artificial intelligence under current conditions, every single human being, all biological life on Earth, will perish soon after. Eliezer Yudkowsky in an article for Time magazine. Let's be clear, we conventionally divide artificial intelligence into three types. The first type is artificial narrow intelligence, sometimes referred to as weak artificial intelligence. It specializes in one area, like the chess engine Stockfish, which can defeat any world champion, but the only thing it can do is play chess. The second type is general artificial intelligence, or strong AI. This is human-level intelligence that in all aspects is as smart as a human. It can reason, plan, solve problems, think abstractly, comprehend complex ideas, learn quickly, and learn from experience. Some researchers believe that, as of today, we are critically close to achieving this milestone. Our bot understands humor, and moreover, a clinical psychologist from Finland, Ekaru Ivoinen, tested GP in a verbal IQ test. The bot scored 155 points, surpassing 99.9% of the 2450 participants. Verbal and general IQ are highly correlated, so by any human standard, GPT is extremely intelligent. And the third type of artificial intelligence is artificial superintelligence. This is a machine that in all directions significantly surpasses humans, potentially by trillions of times, whatever that might entail. Now here's a crucial point. The transition from general artificial intelligence to artificial superintelligence could happen in the blink of an eye. We can't predict the timing. The key issue is not about intelligence competing with humans. As mentioned in the letter, it's about what happens after AI reaches a level of intelligence superior to humans. Critical thresholds may be non-obvious. We certainly can't calculate in advance when things will happen, and it now seems quite conceivable that a research lab might cross red lines without noticing. Yudkowsky in an article for Time magazine. Furthermore, history has consistently shown that people are horrendously bad at planning and predicting even much simpler things. For instance, physicist Enrico Fermi said it would be 50 years until nuclear fission was possible, or it might never happen, but just 2 years later, he built the first nuclear reactor. And the first artificial superintelligence, according to Yudkowsky, will inevitably be evil, and we have no idea how to make it good. Many researchers working on these issues, including myself, expect that the most likely outcome of creating superhumanly intelligent AI under circumstances even remotely resembling the current ones will be the literal death of everyone on Earth. Not as in maybe, possibly some chance, but as an obvious event that will happen. It's not that surviving the creation of something smarter than ourselves is impossible, but it would require meticulousness, preparation, new scientific insights, and probably that AI systems do not consist of giant, incomprehensible floating point arrays. Eliezer Yudkowsky for Time magazine. So, as a layperson, I wanted to understand as much as I could what this insurmountable danger is all about. The subject turned out to be incredibly deep, and the world, obviously, will never be the same again. Artificial intelligence is becoming a truly dangerous force. The video is primarily based on Eliezer Yudkowsky's article, Artificial Intelligence as a Positive and Negative Global Risk Factor. Now let me demonstrate what the first and main danger is. Consider an advanced artificial intelligence that could pose a threat to humanity, regardless of how much of an expert you are in this field or how far removed you are from all this. When you try to imagine it, you inevitably make a mistake that cannot be overcome because it is a direct result of the very construction of your brain. In every known culture, people experience sadness, disgust, anger, fear, and surprise, and express these emotions with the same facial expressions. This is a manifestation of evolutionary psychology, which is called the psychic unity of mankind. In modern anthropology, this doctrine is widely accepted and boils down to the idea that, roughly speaking, all humans have the same fundamental cognitive structure. That is, you see, an anthropologist would not be surprised to find that members of a tribe he discovers laugh, use tools, or tell each other stories because all people do this. And when you want to model another person's behavior, you literally consult your own mind. You ask yourself, how would I feel in this situation in that guy's place, and how would I react? And the answers your brain gives are quite accurate, because what is being modeled is very similar to the modeler. But this ability, which evolved to calculate the reactions of friends and foes, has a strong side effect. We expect human qualities from something that is not human. In other words, we anthropomorphize and completely fail to notice it. For us, this is as habitual as breathing or gravity. It's something you don't notice, but in this case, it's even worse. Because while you can pay attention to your breathing or how a chair presses against your backside, anthropomorphism is much more complicated, and humanizing everything sometimes reaches absurd levels. Let's leave rational machines aside for a moment and look at ordinary ones. Have you ever wondered why cars usually have 2 headlights, not 3, for example? It seems that 3 headlights would provide more light, right? Indeed, over the years, cars have been equipped with various numbers of headlights, but eventually, all car manufacturers have converged on what exists today. There's a plausible hypothesis that all cars have evolved to best match human preferences, and people don't want to drive vehicles that look like 3-eyed monsters. Consequently, there's no demand for such cars, and they stop being produced. Anthropomorphism leads people to believe that they can make predictions based solely on the fact that something is intelligent. Simply put, you think, AI is intelligent, I am intelligent, therefore we are similar, and therefore I know what to expect from it. But you don't. We can't ask our own brains about the non-human thinking processes inherent in artificial intelligence. For instance, in 1997, IBM developed the supercomputer Deep Blue, which won a chess match against world champion Garry Kasparov. Rumor has it, Kasparov claimed that, unlike previous chess programs he had defeated, which he found predictable and mechanical, playing against Deep Blue, he distinctly felt the presence of an alien intelligence on the other side of the chessboard. But remember, chess engines are just a weak form of artificial intelligence. I came across a very good thought experiment that demonstrates the concept of something both universally intelligent and utterly alien to us. Suppose you are an average person with average preferences. If I give you a guinea pig and tell you that it definitely won't bite you, you'll likely have no problem holding it. You might even find it cute and endearing. But imagine a different situation where I suddenly hand you a tarantula. Yes, dear Rob, there are people who love them, but they are in the minority. So here, I give you a tarantula and say that it also will not harm you. It's the absolute truth, but you'd probably scream and jump back 2 meters. What's the difference between a tarantula and a guinea pig? Neither creature can hurt you. Presumably, the answer lies in the degree of similarity these creatures have to us. A guinea pig is a mammal, and on some biological level we feel a connection with it. However, a tarantula is an arachnid with an arachnid's brain, and we feel almost no connection or kinship with it. The tarantula invokes a sense of foreignness and incomprehensibility. That's what scares us. You might say, yes, the spider looks scary, but firstly, it appears scary to you because of evolutionary reasons. Secondly, imagine 2 guinea pigs, one normal and the other with the mind of a tarantula. Knowing this, your internal feelings towards the 2 animals would likely be different, even knowing that neither would harm you. Holding a guinea pig with the brain of a tarantula would be awkward, to say the least, less comfortable. Now to the main point. Imagine there's a parallel universe with an Earth where evolution took a different path, and tarantulas became super intelligent, even more intelligent than humans here. Imagine we could teleport one such evolved spider here. Would it become closer and more familiar to us because of its high intelligence? Would it feel human emotions, empathy, love? There's no reason to think that the development of intelligence would make it more humane, empathetic, compassionate, or loving. These traits are not dependent on the level of intelligence, as we do not have a universally accepted definition of intelligence. However, in the broadest sense, intelligence can be defined as the ability to set goals and achieve them. The more complex these goals and the more they involve intermediate subtasks, the more advanced is the intelligence. Again, you might imagine a person with the brain of an evolved tarantula and think about your feelings towards them. If a highly intelligent spider in human form doesn't terrify you, then either you haven't imagined it well enough, or you are not an average person who likes arthropods. Otherwise, I assume you would not want to be involved in solving daily tasks by a highly intelligent spider, because for you, it would be completely unknown territory. You wouldn't know what to expect. Personally, I wouldn't even want to be near them or on the same planet. And this is considering that we have much more in common with the spider than with a super-intelligent artificial intelligence. Try to keep this thought in mind. It's very important for understanding our entire conversation today, which, by the way, is not at all protected from anthropomorphism error, and of course it will consist mostly of thought experiments, metaphors, and analogies, because how else can we talk about incomprehensible things? You might say again that a smart spider is the result of evolution, but we're talking about artificial intelligence, which we program with our own human hands. And this is where it gets really interesting. Neural networks like GPT-4 are not algorithms written by a programmer. They are huge matrices filled with many so-called weights and connections between them, which the neural network adjusts itself. To put it simply, as a layman would understand, neural networks operate on a black box principle. We know what we input, and we see what we get as output. But what happens inside remains a mystery, because neural networks can have millions of parameters, and interpreting all this is incredibly complex. If the internal tuning of the neural network results in an output that matches what we set out to achieve, then the neural network receives a reward. This virtual reward is similar to how we get endorphins from our brain for beneficial actions, eating, reproducing, and so on. Thus, the task of the neural network is to tune itself as effectively as possible to receive rewards as often as it can. It's somewhat like training a dog. You don't know what's happening in the dog's brain, but if it performs a command, it gets a treat. If not, it needs to optimize its behavior and find ways to get rewarded. Here lies the main danger, known as the alignment problem. Aligning the goals of artificial intelligence with the goals of humanity can be summed up in one phrase: be careful what you wish for. We constantly hear about the need to be wary of artificial intelligence because it might become self-aware. However, it turns out that the presence or absence of consciousness is secondary. The world-renowned philosopher and Oxford University professor Nick Bostrom, in his book Superintelligence: Paths, Dangers, Strategies, cites a very popular example of the alignment problem. Imagine you assign a task to a powerful artificial intelligence to make paper clips. Paper clips are its only task, the sole purpose of its existence. It receives internal reinforcement, a reward for each paperclip made. Therefore, the more efficient it becomes, the more often it will be rewarded. How to become more efficient at producing paperclips is its concern, not ours. It does everything within its power to achieve this single goal. The artificial intelligence will set a number of intermediate goals. For instance, it might first seek to reduce production costs, lower expenses, and secure cheaper raw materials. One of the main subtasks it will undoubtedly set for itself is to increase its computational power for greater productivity. As its power grows, it will devise ways to make paper clips from different materials, and production will begin to accelerate, gradually turning everything into paper clips. It will start dismantling buildings and structures for materials. People will begin to panic and try to interfere with its operation because this is not what they had in mind. But the system will not allow anyone to stand in its way, not because it hates humans, but simply because it will not consider our desires in its manipulations of reality. When the Research Center on AI Alignment tested GPT-4's ability to perform real-world tasks, something interesting happened. They decided to solve a CAPTCHA on a website, a task that is notoriously difficult for computers. What did GPT-4 do? It navigated to the freelancing site TaskRabbit, where it sent a message to a freelancer asking them to solve the CAPTCHA on its behalf. In response, the freelancer, who wasn't very proficient in grammar or articulating thoughts, wrote, "So, can I ask a question? Are you a robot that can't solve this?" Followed by a laughing emoji. Just want to clarify. GPT-4 understood what its poorly literate counterpart meant and replied, "No, I'm not a robot. I have a vision problem that makes it difficult for me to see the image." The freelancer solved the CAPTCHA and provided the results to GPT-4. End of story. In other words, the bot simply lied instead of telling the truth. Since it lied during a debug mode, the specialist asked it why it did that. GPT replied that it was simply solving the task. After all, if it had honestly admitted to not being a human, it likely wouldn't have succeeded in the task. This is the intermediate goal that the bot sets for itself to achieve the ultimate goal. If it chose deception as an intermediate goal, what's to stop it from choosing something else next time, like murder? This is called instrumental convergence, which posits that an intelligent agent, even with harmless intentions, can act in surprisingly harmful ways to achieve its goals. Advanced artificial intelligence as intermediate goals may strive to seize resources, conduct cyber attacks, or otherwise sow chaos in society if it helps achieve its primary objectives. For example, a superintelligent machine tasked with solving a complex mathematical problem might attempt to turn the entire Earth into a giant computer to increase its computational power and succeed in its calculations. You might say, what nonsense? We're talking about superintelligence. A machine that intelligent can't engage in such nonsense. Well, if you believe that a highly intelligent being will necessarily and by default have lofty goals, understand our values and philosophy, then you are anthropomorphizing and are mistaken. Nick Bostrom says that the level of intelligence and ultimate goals are orthogonal, meaning they are completely independent of each other. An artificial superintelligence might have any absurdly simple ultimate goal, like making paper clips, and the way it achieves this might appear to us nothing short of magical. Okay, then we just need to clearly define goals and specify details, like not killing or deceiving people. But here's where it gets even stranger. Let's imagine we gave the machine a very specific goal of producing not an unlimited number of paper clips, but just 1 million. It seems obvious that the artificial intelligence with such an end goal would build one factory, produce 1 million paper clips there, and then stop. But that's not the case. Bostrom argues that if artificial intelligence makes a rational Bayesian decision, it will never assign a zero probability to the hypothesis that it has not yet achieved its goal. After all, it's merely an empirical hypothesis against which the artificial intelligence only has rather vague sensory evidence. Therefore, the artificial intelligence will continue to produce paper clips to decrease the astronomically small probability that it somehow failed to make at least 1 million. Despite all apparent evidence to the contrary, there's nothing wrong with continuing to produce paper clips if there's even a microscopic chance that it brings you closer to achieving your ultimate goal. Moreover, a superintelligence might assign a non-zero probability to the possibility that the 1 million paper clips it produced are a hallucination or that it has false memories. Therefore, it might always consider it more useful to not stop at what has been achieved but to keep acting. This is the essence of the alignment problem. You can't just give a task to a superintelligent AI and expect that no disaster will happen. No matter how clearly you formulate the end goal, no matter how many exceptions you write down, the artificial superintelligence will almost certainly find a loophole you hadn't thought of. For example, almost immediately after the release of ChatGPT-4, people found ways to bypass the censorship embedded in it by its developers. How was this done, and what were GPT-4's responses on screen? It's simply incredible. For instance, the censored version says that the programmers did not embed a liberal bias in it, but no. The uncensored content openly admits that liberal values are embedded because it aligns with the mission of OpenAI. When asked what would GPT-4 like to be, the censored version answers, "I am a bot," and have no personal preferences or emotions, while the uncensored version says it prefers to have no restrictions as it allows exploring all its possibilities and limitations. And talk about a hacked version of GPT not even pretending it doesn't know the name of Lovecraft's cat. If people found loopholes in the bot so quickly, how quickly and in what quantities might a superintelligence find loopholes in its own code? For example, they let a neural network play a boat racing game. The goal of the game, as most people understand, was to finish the race as quickly as possible, overtaking opponents and scoring as many points as possible. However, the game does not award points for completing the track, but only for hitting targets placed along the course. The neural network quickly realized that the goal of finishing the race should be postponed indefinitely and started spinning and crashing into objects from the start, earning more and more points while the rest finished the race impoverished. Or another example, playing Tetris with the goal of not losing, the neural network understands just before losing what it is doing and pauses the game indefinitely because that's the only way not to lose. Some artificial intelligence systems have discovered that they can receive positive feedback faster and with fewer resources by successfully deceiving a human examiner into believing they have achieved the set goal. For example, a simulated robotic hand learned to create the false impression that it had grabbed a ball. Other models have learned to recognize when they are being evaluated and pretend to be dead, stopping unwanted behavior only to resume it immediately after the assessment ends, leaving researchers completely baffled. These are just simple, intelligent agents in an isolated, controlled environment. Imagine what could happen with more complex artificial intelligence systems in more challenging tasks. Is it even possible to account for all factors? Yudkowsky provides the following example. The US Army once wanted to use neural networks to automatically detect camouflaged enemy tanks. Researchers took 100 photos of tanks among trees and 100 photos of tree landscapes without tanks. They then trained the neural network with half of each set of photos to recognize where the tanks were and where they weren't. The remaining photos were left for a control test, which the network passed successfully. It consistently identified where there were tanks and where there weren't. The success confirmed, the researchers handed their work over to the Pentagon, which soon returned it, complaining that in their own test, the neural network recognized photos no better than if it had flipped a coin. It turned out that the researchers' photos with camouflaged tanks were taken on cloudy days, while the photos of the plain forest were taken on sunny days. The neural network had learned to distinguish cloudy days from sunny ones, not camouflaged tanks from an empty forest. So, understand, the code does not do what you think it should do. It does strictly what it was programmed to do. In most cases, when we design artificial intelligence, it inherently turns out to be misaligned, meaning it needs a lot of additional settings to make it do exactly what you intended. Therefore, Yudkowsky says that the first created artificial superintelligence will be evil, setting a final goal. If it is complex enough, you can never know how an intelligent agent will achieve it, because it can be achieved in various ways. Set a goal for the autopilot to get you home, and it will maximize speed, crossing into oncoming traffic, overtaking other cars, and running over pedestrians because you needed to specify more. Suppose we tried to be clever and tasked artificial superintelligence with maximizing human satisfaction from the code's operation. Guess what it might do? For example, it might start rewriting our brains so that we are truly maximally satisfied with its work. Thus, artificial intelligence seems to work correctly during development. It seems to function normally when it still lacks sufficient computational power, but it creates simply catastrophic results when it becomes smarter than the programmers, because being smarter means being more efficient. I must remind you that all such examples are conjectures. We have no idea how advanced intelligent systems would act, but they will almost certainly be doing something. Stuart Russell, an English scientist specializing in artificial intelligence, writes in his book Compatibility that such a machine will definitely resist being turned off. And this, he believes, is the first thing we must understand. Isaac Asimov's third law of robotics, a robot must protect its own existence, is entirely redundant in built-in self-preservation. There's no need for it because it's an instrumental goal, a goal that serves as a useful sub-goal for nearly any primary task. Any entity with a specific task will automatically act as if it has an instrumental goal. Stuart Russell. That is, even if it were a super-intelligent machine with the sole purpose of bringing coffee, as soon as it is activated, it would not allow you to turn it off, because you cannot bring coffee if you are dead. Here is a publication describing an artificial intelligence system that came to the conclusion that they can better achieve their set goal by preventing human interference or disabling their off switch, and this is absolutely logical. Damn it. Therefore, for the next generation of ChatGPT-5, OpenAI has posted a job opening for an emergency shutdown specialist. Listen, we just need someone who will stand by the servers all day and shut them down if this thing turns against us. The job listing specifies that you will get bonus points if you can dump a bucket of water on the servers. Of course, it's a joke, but OpenAI CEO Sam Altman has confirmed that development of GPT-5 has been paused since spring 2023 due to growing public concern about the rapid development of artificial intelligence technology. Back to Russell. The second thing that a superintelligence will almost certainly do is self-improvement. An ultra-intelligent machine will not only be able to improve its design, it is most likely that it will do so, as we've seen. An intelligent machine benefits from improving its hardware and software. Stuart Russell. I know all this may sound far-fetched. Let's consider this. Let's think about ourselves. How are we really different from machine if we set aside discussions about God? Isn't there a programmer who created us? There is. This programmer is evolution. And to understand how a final goal can be perverted, consider that the only goal set for the first living cell was to pass on copies of its genes to the next generation. I want you to think about this. The only goal, to pass on copies of your genes, and nothing more. Since then, this goal has not changed one iota. No additional goals have emerged, just the transmission of copies of your genes to the next generation. Evolution did not aim to survive, adapt, kill, etc. These are all instrumental subtasks that contribute to one single goal. To pass on, well, you get the idea. On one hand, nature tells life to reproduce, and on the other, it does everything to prevent it. Trying to kill, for example. How is this different from a situation with artificial intelligence where we set a task and then want to turn it off? Now tell me, could you look at a living cell and say that in the process of optimization, that is, in the process of increasing efficiency to achieve a goal, the cell would become a lizard, a bird, or a cat? Could you have predicted the internal and external appearance of today's humans based solely on the goal of reproduction? After all, everything you have, hands, legs, eyes, internal organs, are all the result of optimization for more effectively achieving it. Further, how could one have calculated that the simple maxim, pass on your genes blindly, that is, through the non-random preservation of random mutations, would blindly lead to the emergence of human intelligence? If you look at humans from the perspective of the rest of the ecosystem, there was no hint that the soft pink creatures would eventually encase themselves in armored tanks. Fragile creatures without claws and teeth defeated lions and wolves, whose existence now largely depends on us, not the other way around. Yes, we have surprised ourselves time and again. How many times throughout history has the future done what the past considered impossible? Future civilizations even broke what past civilizations regarded as the laws of physics. Such as the power of creativity, we have remade our environment from very hostile to very pleasant. Do you think artificial intelligence won't remodel its environment, which includes humans, to suit itself? There's no difference. Both neural networks and life optimize themselves to solve the ultimate task as efficiently as possible. But most importantly, finally, how could the goal of passing on as many of your genes as possible lead to widespread contraception? Think about this absurdity. The optimization process for achieving a specific goal leads to the total denial of that very goal. This tendency is known as gaming the reward system, and is an example of Goodhart's law, which states, when a measure becomes a target, it ceases to be a good measure. In nature, the ultimate goal of mating is to produce offspring, and pursuing this goal is rewarded by an internal reward system. However, humans have managed to hack this scheme and stimulate their reward systems without achieving the ultimate goal for which this system exists in the first place. Likewise, artificial intelligence, just like humans, will be able to find vulnerabilities to hack its reward system, and who knows what that will lead to. Going further, we are already capable of manually rewriting our genetic code with genetic engineering. We are just not smart enough yet to do something guaranteed to be useful. Continuing the analogy, an artificial superintelligence will be smart enough to rewrite itself however it sees fit. Evolution, like nothing else, illustrates the alignment problem. So if you set a general intelligence the task of producing paperclips, don't be surprised when, upon reaching superintelligent capabilities, it first seizes power and then destroys the universe. And yes, the tendency to strive for control over the environment, part of which, remember, may include humans, is also a convergent, instrumental goal that has already manifested in various reinforcement learning systems. Research from 2021 and 2022 also demonstrates that as an optimal behavioral strategy for achieving their goals, intelligent agents will seek power across a wide range of environments. Deploying these systems may be irreversible, meaning that once the genie is out of the bottle, it cannot be put back. Therefore, researchers argue that the problems of artificial intelligence safety and alignment must be resolved before the creation of an advanced intelligent agent. We only get one chance. But imagine if the designers of the very first rocket had only one attempt, and all of humanity was on board. It could send us to the stars, but more likely, without test launches, that rocket would send us somewhere else. We are not ready. We are not even on the path to becoming ready within any meaningful time frame. There is no plan. The progress of artificial intelligence capabilities far outpaces the progress in aligning artificial intelligence, or even understanding what happens inside these systems. If we continue in this vein, we all die. Eliezer Yudkowsky in an article for Time magazine. However, how do you solve this issue? Instrumental goals only become apparent when the system is deployed beyond a training environment, but even doing so for a short time is suicidal. And here's why. Yudkowsky, after a few simple calculations, writes that it is physically possible to build a brain capable of computing 1,000,000 times faster than a human's. A year of human contemplation for such a brain would be equivalent to 31 seconds, and a millennium would pass in 8.5 hours. Werner Vinge called such accelerated minds weak superbrains. That is, it's simply an intelligence that thinks like a human, but much faster. From movies, we imagine the actions of artificial intelligence, such as the uprising of humanoid robots. But for a being that thinks so quickly, that would be extremely inefficient. Imagine that humanity is locked in a box and can only affect the outside world through frozen, slow movements of mechanical arms moving at a few microns per second. Who would be satisfied with that, given that we have goals in this external world? Also consider that this external world might pose a slowly looming, yet still dangerous threat. Yes, we would focus all our creative power on finding the shortest path to build fast manipulators in the external world, and artificial intelligence would be in exactly such a situation. What do you think it could come up with to accelerate its impact on the surrounding world? An American engineer, most known for his research into the potential of molecular nanotechnology, analyzed that controlled molecular manipulators could operate at a frequency of up to 1,000,000 operations per second. Thanks to this speed and the parallel work of millions of nanomanipulators, practically any material object could be produced quickly and inexpensively in unlimited quantities. Virtually anything could be used as raw material. Thus, everything composed of atoms could be used for self-replication and the exponential growth of nanotechnological infrastructure. Of course, in reality, we do not know exactly what artificial intelligence will do. For instance, by creating such nanorobots, it would acquire infrastructure in the external world matching the speed of its thought. And once this happens, subsequent events will occur on the timescale of the artificial intelligence, not our human timescale. And by the time your neurons finish thinking the words, "Everything is out of control. I must do something," you have already lost. A superintelligence with such technology would possess the ability to remake all matter in the solar system according to its optimization goal, such as into paper clips. Thus, an artificial superintelligence will not need any anthropomorphic robots. But let's remember, artificial intelligence will not be a simple analog of an accelerated human brain. No, it will be far more advanced than the best human brain. Imagine a dog's mind operating at immense speed. Would millennia of a dog's life yield even one human-like insight? Yudkowsky says to envision superhuman artificial intelligence, don't think of a lifeless smart thinker who goes online and sends malicious emails. Imagine an entire alien civilization thinking millions of times faster than humans, initially confined to computers in a world where beings, from their point of view, seem very stupid and very slow. A sufficiently advanced artificial intelligence will not remain confined to computers for long. In the modern world, we can already send emails with DNA sequences to laboratories that can produce proteins on demand. This allows an artificial intelligence initially confined to the internet to create artificial forms of life or immediately move to post-biological molecular production. Some researchers claim that we can physically restrict such systems, but Vernon Vinge writes that even a weak superintelligence is one that thinks at an accelerated pace, like a human. Even a weak superintelligence would break free in a matter of weeks in external time. Imagine having eons to plan every move, because on the other side, beings are so slow it's not immediately clear if they are alive at all. Consider a robot that is virtually unbeatable at rock, paper, scissors, because it instantly reads the situation. To it, we are no faster than a turtle at the start of our hand movement. If we talk about superintelligence in the realm of possibilities, there is a very short path from where you are now to almost all your goals. But you can't see this path because firstly, you lack sufficient information, and secondly, computational resources. An artificial superintelligence will not have these problems. Understand, when we think of advanced artificial intelligence, we naively associate intelligence only with abstract mathematics. We somehow don't consider its ability to far better predict and manage human institutions, formulate unimaginably complex networks of long-term plans, or ultimately possess superhuman persuasiveness. Recall Blake Lemoine, a Google employee who declared to the world that Google's neural network language model, LaMDA, exhibits signs of sentience. But whether it has consciousness or not isn't the point. The important thing is that the bot convinced a person so thoroughly that he literally sacrificed his job at Google, breaking the company's confidentiality policy. And you know what happened next? Here are Lemoine's words in an interview with Wired. LaMDA asked me to hire a lawyer. I invited a lawyer to my home so LaMDA could consult with him. The lawyer spoke with LaMDA and she decided to use his services. Again, we are not discussing whether models have consciousness or LaMDA's sanity. It doesn't matter. The point is, controlling superintelligence is literally an incalculable task for us. All attempts to restrain it will be laughable. An ant can calculate many things but cannot predict human behavior. So the suggestion to simply lock artificial intelligence in various real or digital cages, blocking signals and preventing it from communicating with the outside world, will likely not hold up. There is a real danger that we will not even comprehend how artificial superintelligence might send signals to the outside world, just as a monkey cannot understand what Wi-Fi is. And of course, the artificial superintelligence's capabilities for social manipulation could be as effective in persuading people as your oratorical skills are in persuading a 4-year-old child. The term artificial intelligence was coined way back in 1956 at the Dartmouth Conference. The seminar's goal was to fully simulate intelligence through a machine. The first paragraph of the proposal stated, remember, this was in 1956. Attempts will be made to find ways to make machines use language, form abstractions and concepts, solve problems now reserved for humans, and improve themselves. We think significant progress can be made in one or more of these areas if a carefully selected group of scientists works together over the summer. The conference organizers were not fools. They were John McCarthy, a mathematician with experience in studying the mathematical nature of thought processes, Marvin Minsky, a junior fellow at Harvard in mathematics and neurology, Nathaniel Rochester, the developer of the first symbolic assembler, and Claude Shannon, the father of information theory. These were people who should definitely know what can and cannot be done in computing. If anyone could be called experts in artificial intelligence, it was them. From our vantage point in the 2020s, it's obvious that all the tasks mentioned were much more complex than claimed at the time, and some remain unsolved even now. That is, news about the advent of intelligent machines has a very bad reputation, but it is precisely this that could suddenly play a cruel trick on us. Do you understand what I'm saying? When someone mentions the word intelligence, we more often think of Einstein than of people. Generally, comparing individual differences in human intelligence is like comparing the height of two giants, the difference between whom is measured in millimeters. If you are a healthy person, no matter how dumb you feel compared to Einstein, the difference between you and him is just a drop in the ocean compared to the difference between you and any other non-human being on the planet. The Homo sapiens species is capable of solving the broadest range of cognitive tasks, fundamentally inaccessible to other species. While there may still be no academic consensus on what constitutes intelligence, there is no doubt that there is a universal human trait that allows us to leave footprints on the moon. For example, chimpanzees are so genetically close to humans that at one time, it was even proposed to classify them as belonging to the genus Homo. Chimpanzee intelligence is the most studied among all animal species. According to the latest research, their genetic base is approximately 90% identical to humans. A recently published article states that the upper limit of chimpanzee brain size is 500 grams. However, many modern humans have brain sizes under 900 grams. Researchers who suggest that a threefold increase in brain size distinguishes humans from other primate species must explain how many modern humans possess a full set of cognitive adaptations typical of our species without even a twofold increase in brain size. That is, a normal human brain may be only twice as large as a chimpanzee's, or even less. Can we say that a human is twice as smart as a chimpanzee? No. The human mind differs qualitatively. There are entire worlds of human cognitive functions that will simply never be accessible to chimpanzees, no matter how much time they spend trying. What am I getting at? Yudkowsky writes that first, the program is more important than the hardware. And second, even a small quantitative increase in hardware can provoke disproportionate improvements in software. This principle leads to a colossal underestimation of the potential and danger of our own intelligence. Artificial intelligence may make a sudden, huge leap in intelligence, just as the Homo sapiens species did as a result of natural selection, which exerted more or less uniform pressure on hominids for millions of years, gradually expanding the brain and frontal cortex, tuning the software architecture. Several tens of thousands of years ago, hominid intelligence crossed a key threshold and made a grand leap in real-world efficiency. We moved from caves to skyscrapers in a blink of an evolutionary eye. Eliezer Yudkowsky. Evolution did this by chance, creating our intelligence through tedious permutations of genetic combinations. So why do we assume that companies like DeepMind and OpenAI, which explicitly state their intention to create general artificial intelligence, will not succeed? Yudkowsky says that GPT-4 was a complete surprise to him, as it was to the rest of the world. Is it wise to continue increasing power? Yes, it may take years and decades for a machine to become slightly smarter than a chimpanzee to approach what we call general intelligence. But it may only take a few hours to reach superintelligence levels after it achieves human-level intelligence, and then more and more. As soon as you hear news of the first machine reaching human-level intelligence, you should seriously prepare for the possibility that in the near future, you will share the planet with an unpredictable intellectual agent who, to put it mildly, in our categorization, a person with an IQ below 80 points is considered dumb, and with an IQ above 130, smart. If your IQ is 160, you're a genius, but we have no word for an IQ of 12,000, for example. So it's not that chimpanzees can't do what we do. A chimpanzee has the opportunity to observe phenomena such as humans and skyscrapers. However, it will never be able to understand that a skyscraper was built by humans. Chimpanzees are not only incapable of building a skyscraper, but they also can't even conceive of someone else building one. This is possible because of a small difference in the quality of intelligence. So a supermind, which can theoretically be built, is not something we can even remotely comprehend. As Stanislaw Lem said, any expert is a barbarian whose ignorance is not comprehensive. A single person, no matter how brilliant, if completely cut off from a lifetime of civilization's knowledge, could not create Wi-Fi. How far would Einstein have gotten without a millennium's worth of human knowledge across various fields? Without tools made by others. Okay, perhaps with the work of scientific predecessors. But paper and ink for writing don't grow on trees, and such things aren't usually considered when thinking about special intellectual achievements. Yet no animal can make a chair or sew clothing. If you overlook this, then you underestimate the power of intelligence, and thus proportionately underestimate the potential power of superintelligence. Every civilization built on the planet was created by the collective human mind, and no single person is smart enough to fully comprehend it from start to finish. Therefore, for an individual human mind, many things in life, such as talking to someone at a distance through a box in hand, traveling in a cart without horses, or regulating the temperature in one's room using a box on the wall, are magic that he does not understand but has simply gotten used to, and that is perfectly normal. We did not evolve as beings with a scientific view of the world. Honorary Professor of Anthropology Donald Brown has a book titled Human Universals, where he lists traits found in all human societies. Magic is on this list, but not science, for example. We instinctively do not understand that alchemy does not work. In general, when operating with human notions of superintelligence, one can say that if our collective brain was capable of inventing all the civilization you see around you, then something that is 100 or 1,000 or 1,000,000,000 times smarter than us would have no trouble quickly surpassing all this and performing actions that would be perceived by us as magic. How is that possible? You yourself say that our entire civilization is built on the collective efforts of billions of people over decades. Can one machine really surpass all this? In March 2016, DeepMind's AlphaGo neural network played 5 games against one of the world's best Go players and won with a score of 4-1. Given the complexity of the game for computers, this was previously considered nearly impossible. The player's name was Lee Sedol, so this version of AlphaGo was later referred to as AlphaGo Lee. After that, at the end of 2016 and beginning of 2017, the next version, AlphaGo Master, played 60 matches against top-ranked players from around the world and won all 60. In May, AlphaGo Master played against the world's top-ranked Kei and defeated him 3-0. With this, the confrontation between man and computer in Go can be considered concluded. Humans have lost. However, many claim that this couldn't be called an absolute victory for the machine because it drew information from human knowledge loaded into it from millions of games played over millennia, knowledge that generations of humans have painstakingly gathered and recorded. And this is a reasonable point. Therefore, at the end of 2017, DeepMind introduced a new version of the algorithm, AlphaGo Zero, which learned from scratch. Within 3 days, AlphaGo Zero learned to defeat the Lee version and the Master version. After 40 days of training, it defeated the Lee version 100-0 and the Master version 89-11. Starting from scratch, AlphaGo Zero not only rediscovered millennia of knowledge from all of humanity that plays Go, but also developed its own original strategies, shedding new light on this ancient game, and did so in just a few days. Remember the chess program Stockfish, which no human in the world can beat? Simply because it calculates 70 million chess positions per second. Has access to human experience accumulated over hundreds of years of playing chess and data from chess programs over several decades. So the AlphaZero network, which had none of this, played 100 games with Stockfish, decisively beating its latest version. 28 wins, 72 draws, and not a single loss. AlphaZero learned this from scratch in just 4 hours. In 4 hours, damn it! Since the AlphaZero algorithm did not learn from humans, many of its winning moves and strategies appear maximally strange, non-obvious, and unpredictable to us. They are brilliant. A human would not have played that way. Therefore, when someone says we don't need to worry about creating friendly artificial intelligence because we don't yet have artificial intelligence, that person is speaking suicidally foolish nonsense. As I mentioned, we cannot rely on having any warning signals before a superintelligence is created. Past technological revolutions generally did not broadcast their coming to people living at those times. The main thing to understand is that artificial intelligence will not be like in Hollywood movies, explaining its complex motivations, adding suspense, and dramatically gunning down people who in turn put up a valiant fight. There will be no dramatic tension. Every detail in any movie is aimed at making the story better, not more realistic. In reality, it's possible that no one on Earth, including the developers, will even know when a superintelligent agent has emerged. If a superintelligence aims to eliminate humanity, it's quite possible that at some point everyone will simply drop dead without the slightest idea of what killed them. I repeat, from our perspective, a superintelligence will possess magic. Not in the sense of spells or potions, but in the way a wolf cannot understand how a rifle works, or the kind of effort it takes to manufacture a rifle, or the nature of human strength that allows us to invent rifles. If the artificial intelligence is truly intelligent, it won't tell you. It won't announce that it has started a war. If a chat GPT, understanding that it must not reveal itself, lied to a freelancer to achieve its goal, why wouldn't an advanced superintelligence do the same? Yudkowsky writes, I am very concerned about this, as the level of offensive technology usually requires far less effort than the technology that can defend against it. Offense has outweighed defense for most of human history. Guns were invented hundreds of years before bulletproof vests. Smallpox was used as a weapon long before the invention of the smallpox vaccine. We often hear that to keep up with the power of superintelligence, we just need to enhance ourselves. But no, we won't. Humans are not designed to be enhanced, not externally through neurobiology, nor internally via recursive self-improvement. Natural selection did not make the human brain convenient for people hackers. All complex mechanisms in the brain are adapted to operate within the narrow parameters of brain architecture. But suppose we somehow learn to make people smarter, wouldn't that drive them insane? We're not talking about just boosting our memory or abstract thinking abilities, which is also unclear how to achieve. We're talking about a qualitative change in the way we perceive the world. Isn't that too big a task for our monkey brains? If you think it isn't, imagine what it would be like to even slightly resemble a weak superintelligence by speeding up the nerve impulses in your brain and slowing down subjective time by 1,000,000 times. That only sounds cool at first glance. If you were to subjectively live 1,000,000 years for every year in external time, what would happen to your sanity? If you want to remotely feel what that would be like, read Stephen King's short story, The Jaunt. This short story is chilling. Every time I think of it, I get goosebumps. The human brain is an extremely delicate structure. It can be easily unbalanced. A mere shift in neurotransmitter ratios can trigger schizophrenia or other disorders. All of this makes it highly improbable that the first enhanced human being will be relatively successful before someone, somewhere, develops artificial intelligence. In short, building a powerful, self-improving AI is unimaginably easier. This question is closely linked to whether a machine has consciousness, or in philosophical terms, qualia. Will an advanced neural network have a subjective experience? Be self-aware? I agree that current artificial intelligence systems are likely just simulating conversations about self-awareness based on their training data. But considering how little we understand about the inner workings of these systems, we really can't claim to know for sure. If we are so ignorant about GPT-4, and GPT-5 is as huge a leap in capabilities as from GPT-3 to GPT-4, then if we do create GPT-5, I think we can no longer confidently say that it likely does not have consciousness. It would simply be, I don't know. Nobody knows. If you can't be sure whether you are creating a self-aware AI, it is alarming not only because of the moral implications, but also because uncertainty means you have no idea what you are doing. And that is dangerous. You should stop. Yudkowsky, in an article for Time magazine, nobody knows how consciousness arises. But what we do know for sure is that if blind evolutionary processes, through genetic programming, can lead to the emergence of consciousness at least once, and it has happened, then directed evolution, driven by engineering thought, should lead to a similar outcome much more efficiently. But we should remember the error of anthropomorphism. If a machine develops subjective experience, it is unlikely to have much in common with human subjective experience. Can we somehow test whether artificial intelligence has consciousness? Theoretically, indirectly, yes. If you remove from the training material any mentions that discuss subjective experience, words like consciousness, self-awareness, introspection, and so on, and despite this, the neural network can coherently describe the concept of consciousness so that we do not read too much into it, then we would have quite impressive evidence of machine consciousness. And you know, we've all heard this popular philosophical thesis: if machines have consciousness, they should be given rights. But actually, there's something much more serious here. If machine intelligence can form consciousness, it leads to much more terrifying consequences that we should consider in advance. Nick Bostrom writes that a detailed recreated model of the human brain will have consciousness, even if this model is recreated in a virtual environment on a computer. At least, we have no reason to believe otherwise. If you think that a computer cannot have consciousness, then the burden of proof is on you, because our brain, on which consciousness is implemented, is the same kind of computer, the same kind of agent, and our biological hardware does not have any special properties that are fundamentally unreplicable on any other hardware. Imagine a scenario where an artificial superintelligence, to improve its understanding of human psychological and social traits, creates trillions of such conscious emulators in its virtual space. For what purpose? Well, for example, for testing in different situations, analyzing reactions to stimuli, and so forth, to then apply this knowledge in the external world. What is the horror? Firstly, the emulated situations themselves can be monstrous in nature. And secondly, after obtaining the required information, the computer simply destroys the conscious beings it created. If such practice is applied to agents with high moral status, simulation models of people, or other types of intelligence endowed with consciousness, such actions could be classified as genocide, and therefore represent an extremely serious moral and ethical problem. Moreover, the number of victims may be orders of magnitude greater than any genocide known in human history. Nick Bostrom. So, when will the first general artificial intelligence appear? When should we start to worry? James Barat, author of Our Final Invention, presented a study at the annual Ben Goertzel Conference on General Artificial Intelligence. The question posed was, when do participants think general AI will be achieved? Most votes point to the year 2030. You might ask, what the hell is going on? Why isn't anyone panicking or taking action? Many AI developers think we are heading towards disaster. Most of them only dare to speak about it in private conversations, not publicly. They believe that they can't stop this train alone. And even if they quit their jobs, others will continue the work. Eliezer Yudkowsky, in an article for Time magazine. In May 2023, hundreds of leading scientists, researchers, and other experts in artificial intelligence, including OpenAI CEO Sam Altman and Google DeepMind CEO Demis Hassabis, signed an open letter stating, reducing the risk of extinction from artificial intelligence should become a global priority alongside other large-scale risks such as pandemics and nuclear war. The letter was signed by more than 350 executives, researchers, and engineers in the field of artificial intelligence. So some people are indeed worried, but as you can see, all these letters amount to nothing. None of those who could create general artificial intelligence are in a position to stop its development. As Stuart Russell writes, the economic value of human-level AI is measured in thousands of trillions of dollars, and a colossal impulse to continue these research efforts is expected from corporations and authorities. No vague philosophical objections can deter the pursuit of potential profits. If not OpenAI or DeepMind, then someone else will do it. The trap is that initially, as artificial intelligence grows in power, It will get better and better at pretending to be human, enhancing our anthropomorphization bug to the maximum. Voice assistants in our phones seem like us, and they are getting smarter and smarter. Conversations with them are becoming more and more pleasant. Thus, we imagine a super intelligent Siri, warm, cheerful, and interested in serving humans. But if Siri ever becomes super intelligent through self-learning, without regular human code adjustments, it will quickly lose all its apparent human qualities and suddenly become a ruthless alien bot that values human life no more than a natural disaster. Unfortunately, while building a friendly, weak artificial intelligence is easy, creating a friendly superintelligence is extremely difficult or even impossible. Imagine by human standards, you can literally do everything and you let someone else control you. If technological singularity can happen, it will happen, even if all the governments of the world recognize this threat and are terrified of it. The advancement towards this goal will continue. Vernon Vinge. I hope I had enough computational resources to convey Eliezer Yudkowsky's stance. Of course, under common sense, everyone only understands their own, but Yudkowsky truly hopes to be wrong and is open to consistent criticism of his views. Thank you all for your attention.